Hello, everyone. Welcome to TJ Speaks. Today is July 2nd, the year of 2023. Okay, guys, I am so glad to be joining you today. Today, we will be discussing Harvard Black graduates. Here we go. Ignoring Harvard's Black graduates. That is the title of today's show. I felt the desire to discuss this topic because, as a Black American descendant of slaves, I've always strived for excellence. Um, Maybe my circumstances are not as far from perfect, but within my heart, I've always been a person that desires education, that holds education to a high priority in my life and in my life of my children. I consider myself an intellectual. I like to think, I like to read, I like stimulating things for the mind. That's always been a part of my character. So I felt that as if Black American descendants of slaves, foundational Black Americans, were being locked out of the conversation when we were discussing affirmative action. Mostly white mainstream media would talk to immigrants, and they would talk to a lot of Asian people to discuss whether or not it's necessary, which I found ironic, and I kind of found was a little racist, because we all know we all are not blind. It doesn't matter what color you are. We know that the Asians did not experience what the Black foundational Americans experienced. So to speak, to the experience uh, to an Asian or immigrant was it's inauthentic. It is divisive. It is trying to distract from the real reason affirmative action was created. You know, so that's the reason why I wanted to touch on this topic, and the reason why I want to focus, because I said no conversation has really been had when we talk about affirmative action. A lot of people may say that, oh, the affirmative act, they call blacks, specifically Black Americans, descendants of slaves, are singled out as affirmative action hires. That's usually used as a slur to Black Americans, high achieving Black Americans. You get into a high position, you graduate from a high performing college or university, and everyone just automatically assume that you have low test scores and you have low grades, and they had to bend over backwards to accommodate you. And the reality is, affirmative action was created due to the blatant racism. Yes, the racism that happened and occurred for many, many centuries in America, and most recently, very heavy and openly in the 1950s and 60s, where Black people were called the N word to their face, where the Black citizens were discriminated openly and told they are not a wanted or desired at these higher learning institutions. And the desire for education, because Black citizens are humans and they love learning, they love reading, and they love being challenged. Those are the Black citizens, students that apply to Harvard and Yale and Stanford. Though these young people are the best of the best. These people are up for the challenge. First of all, it takes a lot of courage to even apply to Harvard and Yale. And especially takes courage when you know you're going to be told that you're stupid, that you're less than, oh, you can't pass this test. regardless of your GPA in all the years of high school and elementary school, where you have been working hard and you can show your grades that you are no joke. They throw away 12 years of primary schooling for one fucking college exam. And then they make such a big deal out of 100 or 200 point difference. And like I said, many people assume what you score. They don't have access to your college records. But the racism is what drives their opinions and their perception. So before they know you as an individual, they group you in with maybe lesser scoring Black people. But we all know, because we are intelligent thinkers, that all Black people don't have the same test scores. So using that stereotype and applying it to all Black people was a racist thing. Saying that all Black people have lower scores. Evidently, that's impossible for all Black people to yield the same exact results. Just like all Asians don't yield the same results, and all white people don't yield the same results. That focusing and that laser focus on test scores was very interesting to me, because by them focusing so much, right, on test scores, they were blinded, because that maybe that was an advantage. I really don't know. I doubt it. But let's say they are telling the truth. Let's say the Black students overall scored a little less. A little less. All right. Remember, we are talking about high performing Black students. A little less than Asians. Okay. Let's go by that. Let's say that they had lesser grades, like the racist people would like you to believe. Fine. Let's say they have a lower GPA. Great. Lower GPA. So for the past 45 years, right, the Black students, due to affirmative action, according to the racists, right, the Black students were only admitted due to affirmative action. Um, was admitted to Harvard. And I was curious, because I'm a thinker. What was the results of that? What was the outcomes of that? See, this affirmative action lawsuit, the lawsuit that took down affirmative action, no one has ever questioned the outcomes of affirmative action. Everyone just assumed a student gets in with lesser grades, they don't deserve to be there, they're undeserving, they can't do the work. Really? Because if you look at Harvard's graduation rate, excuse me, I'm from New York, I'm from Brooklyn, and sometimes I mispronounce words, okay? I'm doing my best. Right? I got a Brooklyn accent, I can't help it. Harvard graduation rate remains at 97%. Now, how is that possible when you just told me that the Black students couldn't do it? They couldn't cut the mustard. They was less than, inferior to the Chinese and the Asian and the white students. You just said that. We were just told for years and years and decades that the Black students admitted to Harvard had lower test scores, god damn it, and they had lower GPAs. And my comeback is, then how the fuck did they graduate? Because graduating from Harvard ain't no goddamn easy task. So that tells me those entrance exams that this government focused so much on has no bearings on the student outcomes. And that's our focus today. Does these college entrance exams actually have any bearing on student outcomes? And the answer is because Harvard's graduation rate and success rate of their students remains at 97%. And Harvard has always remained within the top two, number one, number two, of the universities in America. So even with affirmative action, giving them so-called mediocre students, those so-called mediocre admissions somehow are Harvard graduates, Yale graduates, Stanford graduates. The results don't lie. The success don't lie. Something good is happening in Harvard. Okay, I don't technically agree with everything because I believe they're racist. But them little racist motherfuckers must be doing something right because their outcomes are phenomenal. There's definitely, I see, as a parent, as a person with eyeballs, regardless of my feelings about Harvard and Yale, like I said, I feel that they are racist. But regardless of my feelings, I can't ignore the numbers. The results are impeccable. I don't know what they're doing, what kind of magic they got going on in those universities. But they are yielding results. And results don't lie. All right. So you want to erase all the accomplishments of the Black Harvard graduates. You want to ignore the Black Harvard graduates' accomplishments. The fact that the Black students graduated along with the white and Asians. Although when they first entered Harvard and Yale and Stanford, those kids, many of the Black kids perhaps, maybe had a lesser quality of education. But at the end of the day, they yield the same results. Now, how is that if somehow race is correlated to intelligence? Because that's what a lot of the racist people say. Asian and white racist people will say that they are superior in intelligence. Well, if you were so superior, why are the results the same? Doesn't seem like you need superior intelligence entering Harvard. What it does say is that you need to be in Harvard and Yale. That's what it does say. Because those schools are doing the right thing. I don't know what they are doing, but they're doing something right. Because those results don't lie. Those results, those outcomes, student outcomes, show success. That's what it shows. It shows this is a very good place. And not to mention, not just the Black kids that was admitted through affirmative action, so the racists will say. It's also the legacy students. The legacy students, the celebrities that submitted, the people who got rich parents, the people whose family donate to the college is also admitted. And a lot of those students were D students like George Bush. He was a D student. But that's the wonderful thing about Harvard and Yale. They will take a D student and turn that motherfucker into a superstar. Now, that I respect. That's an education. Because remember, we are getting so wrapped up in race and ethnicity, and some people want to be superior because they mad about the NBA. What does the NBA have to do with Harvard? I never got that correlation. But whatever. At school, education is the land of opportunity. That is the bedrock of the American dream. And if America cannot offer education, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? You don't need to be a LeBron James to go to Harvard. You can be disabled going to Harvard and Yale. It doesn't matter what race you are. You know when you get to Harvard and Yale, you will succeed. You have a very high chance, a 97% chance of success. And that's the American dream. And America supposed to believe in opportunity for everybody. For everyone. We don't lock people out of the school because of one exam. You should not use one exam to lock your fellow citizens out of a university. And that is what Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, graduate of Harvard, Ketanji Brown Jackson, has said. Y'all can call that woman all you want. That woman is not stupid. Now, I was not a fan of Ketanji Brown Jackson, but I always had my respect for Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I side with her on this decision because she is correct. Going around acting like something doesn't exist doesn't make it erase, doesn't make it disappear. Uh, this a battered woman can ignore her husband beating her behind every day, but that doesn't mean she ain't receiving that butt kicking. So ignoring that racism is in our society and that people act upon their racist beliefs is ignorant. And it's anti-American to not to want to share in the prosperity, to want to use, whether you use your money to block another person out of opportunity, whether you use a test score to block another person out of opportunity, whether you use lineage to block another person out of opportunity. Educational facilities are lands as places of opportunity. That is where we all get a chance. It is not the NBA. It is not the World Cup. It's not the US Open. Education is the place where we get our opportunity. Whether you are an able person, a disabled person, gay or straight, or whatever race you want to be, America needs to be ashamed of themselves. Because America never dealt with the crimes that is committed against the black citizens. But I'm not going to go there today because that's another topic. We're going to focus on the graduation results of Harvard. Because for 45 years, those results have never changed. So all of this nonsense talking about, oh, affirmative action give us less qualified people, that's a lie. Because that entrance exam does not make you qualified. You know what makes you qualified to be a doctor? Graduating from medical school, being a graduate, having your highly trained professor sign off that you meet the standards and above. That is what makes you a qualified doctor, not some fucking SAT. SATs don't mean shit to your outcome. Anybody can flunk an SAT. That's just a bad day. That's just a bad exam. That has nothing to do with your future. And that's the truth. The entrance exams have nothing to do with your future. You could start off in the beginning a slacker, which many people have, and end up the top of your class because something in you had probably changed. The entrance exam do not measure potential. But you know who are very good? I have to give it up to them. The Harvard and Yale admissions are very good at choosing the right. I want to know what they're doing, but they're good at whatever they're doing in that school. They are getting results. They can, like I said, they can take a D student and make them a superstar, and that's the truth. And that is why so many people are fighting to get into Harvard. So that's why I said, in America today, we cannot just sit back, put our hands behind our head, and act like racism is not happening. All right? We must have every door open to every student. We don't really need affirmative action to do it. If we get together, it can be done. But that's why I advocate for ending the college entrance exams, because that those entrance exams have been used and weaponized by racist individuals to demean and single out particular groups of people, namely blacks. Blacks are only ones called out on mainstream media, and we all heard it. Called the black students stupid, singled out the black kids as dumb and undeserving. But they make sure they do not mention the graduates of Harvard. Every person, pretty much, that enters Harvard graduate, including the so-called dumb black people, they like to say. The ones that's not deserving. That's not true. You could be great on the SATs and an awful doctor. It is possible, because that's just one exam. It does not measure your 12 years of work. Remember, we send our kids to school and kindergarten. That's 13 years of education tenacity that we can look at to be a better judge if this student is a right fit. I believe in opportunity. I think everyone should have a chance. I don't think some people want to tilt things in their favors. And using the college entrance exams is tilting it in the Asians' favor, who take college entrance exams as a sport. They made a sport out of taking the college entrance exam, but it has no bearing on the uh, quality of the person. We need to throw that out along with affirmative action goodbye, because I'm tired of being called affirmative action hire. It's really racist. I feel like it's really affected Justice Thomas' decision. I think the years of being called that racist term being thrown at him, even though he is a Yale graduate, and many of us listening on YouTube could never make it one day in Yale. And Justice Clarence Thomas managed to be a Yale law graduate. So he is not a dumb man. I believe Justice Thomas is a hurt man. I believe Justice Thomas is very hurt because he is a very good person, very funny guy, and he was subjected to being called affirmative action hire, even though affirmative action literally just came out once he got admitted. And nobody's looking at that. You know, I think that's wrong. I think his experience, Justice Thomas, experiences racism and discrimination, having to overcome adversity and being a scholar that he is, it does hurt a black scholar to know, like for myself, I can speak from my own experience, that when you go to school in your neighborhood, your schools are most likely only to teach you 80% of the material. The black schools, all right, that's something that nobody ever talks about. They only teach 80% of the material. So a lot of times when black students don't do well on the test, it's not because they don't understand it. It's just they never seen it before. It was never taught to them. Okay? And that is how they keep the test score results so different. All right? That's really what be going on. A lot of people don't know that. I'm giving you guys exclusive information right now. We only get 80% of the material. That's why our test scores are lower. But trust and believe, black people are not stupid and not slow. I never was. But sometimes I play dumb because I know that's what people think I am. I play dumb and then I'm really slick. All right, true. I won't tell too much truth on this channel. But yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of intellectuals in the black community. And I remember working one day and I was around, multi-diverse people, and this white woman, she said honestly, she couldn't believe black people were discussing politics. She never imagined, she was an older white woman. She never interacted with black people like intellectual blacks. Um, she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe black people was having a conversation about politics, an intellectual conversation. And even though her reaction was kind of like surprising, it was also truth telling. At least she told the truth. I mean, she does have a little bias, but that was okay because she's human and she's not perfect. Okay, we have to get together and we have to talk. We're living in the same country in separate neighborhoods and no one's speaking to each other. It's really ridiculous. If we spoke to each other, things would be a lot better. We would have so much more in common. But all of this, division and segregation and calling each other affirmative action hires. Listen, I, I don't want to be called affirmative action hire as much as white people don't want to be called a white supremacist. That's just the truth. Those are slurs that people say all the time, and it's not right, especially if that individual is not that. That's not what you don't know somebody reason why they were hired. You don't know that. You don't have access to their employment records or their college admission records. So to go around calling people affirmative action hires is wrong. And not all white people are racist. Some of them are. Some people have been taught it, but that's okay. We can get past it if we're willing to. We can actually get past it. That's what I believe. I like open-minded people. I like people that is not afraid to criticize themselves. That's the type of person I like. Anyway, that's my take on it. We need to end the college entrance exams. It has no bearings on the graduation rates. All right, we need to end it. This focus on these college exams is leading people to believe they are superior intellectually. They're letting some students, some kids, believe that they are superior race. And that's not the purpose of the college entrance exams. And the college entrance exams really do not have an outcome. It do not affect the outcome because it's the quality of the university that affects the outcome for the students. Harvard is an excellent school. Harvard is excellent, and their graduation rate says it all. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. I sure really liked and enjoyed talking to you all. I like sharing my thoughts. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Sunday. Bye bye.